So we talked about offensive and defensive data strategies, and then you bring up something which is another really important concept around data debt. And I think business executives in general understand the concept of infrastructure debt and infrastructure debt as it relates to IT systems. But I find that too often we have the conversation, just like you raised, like, data catalog, who needs it? What's the business value? Have you found some connective tissue in terms of C-level data literacy to help connect the importance of data operations and taking care of data as an asset the same way we'd take care of a machine in a factory, and keep it in good working order, the same way we take care of our employees and make sure that they're happy and thriving?
What comes to mind is, I can't tell you how many times I've been having conversations and alignment meetings with the CFO office, right? So CFO in my organization is the most kind of trusted partner, right? And as a CFO, you deal with numbers, every day, right? That's your lifeblood. So that's a good journey to start. But what you really ought to do is to demonstrate that value through a true and honest and comprehensive metrics and measurement system, right? And measuring the value of your data debt, right? Measuring the value of poor data quality to high data quality, or measuring the value of why you need data standards, or why you need the importance of curating and gardening your metadata, right? That eventually goes into your data catalog. All these defensive kind of dry topics, right? You need to really find a way to wrap around and make and establish a measurement and metrics and KPI framework, because that's the only way you can actually measure your success. So I wouldn't say I've been hugely successful yet, because the journey has just started in my company, right? But getting the CFO and some of his data literate, savvy people on board to jointly go about pulling together this framework, in my opinion, that's kind of a step in the right direction to take ownership of your data from a defensive perspective, which then further down leads to establishing a pure data ops practice and beefing up your data governance council, or appointing data stewards as a formal role in your company, right? And a formal responsibility. That's so I think that's really a critical value.
I think that's a good insight, and maybe I have an observation I'll share, which maybe you'll find useful, which is I tend to think of, in the world of data quality and data ops, of efficiency metrics versus effectiveness metrics, and often in C-level conversations, for example, with the CFO, I think that there's a way, in many cases, of connecting metrics that people understand, like inventory turns or EBITDA margin, to weaknesses that are consequent to data debt. For example, duplicated products, duplicated customers, poor hygiene on supplier or customer payment terms, that you can actually physically link in the model of an effectiveness metric to core metrics that CFO in particular will care about. At the same time, in order to run data ops effectively, you have to have efficiency metrics, right? Which are, like, how many record changes did I make? How many people touched it? What's our first pass yield on the quality of data maintenance? Do we have, metadata linked to operational data, and so on? Just my observation is that it's really hard to get people to see the value of the efficiency metrics without linking the story to some kind of effectiveness metrics that are in a business language that they already understand.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the tougher challenges as a CDO, right? Because you'll get the first question on, Okay, so how you're asking for 10 million or 100 million over the next 3 years, and why do I need to give it to you? Why do I need to invest to you? And therefore, the second question after that is, how are you going to measure your success or your failure, right? And that's what I have experienced in 2 out of 3 ventures at IBM. We did a really nice job in quickly getting onto that mindset to measure the value. But in the 2 other things, Gartner scale 1 to 5, pretty much at 1, right? I mean, there was just, I show up and there are two company-wide data metrics, and one of them is how many assets do we have, right? Well, define what a data asset is, right? So it's every corporation, even in this traditional segment, are kind of on a different journey to embrace, truly embrace data as a strategic asset. My opinion, it starts with measuring your data, data out in a very rigorous and very disciplined way. I mean, we all heard Peter Drucker back in decades ago, like if you can't measure, you can't manage.